Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Bayonetta 2 walkthrough. It's time for all of the extras to begin! So, there is a cosmic butt-ton of extras to cover in Bayonetta 2. To begin with, we are going to be looking at the witch trials, and trying to complete all of them. We'll see how successful I am on that. Then we've got to cover all of Tag Climax, which is going to be a pretty hefty chunk. Then there are 3 run-throughs of the game again, but kind of shortened, montage-esque runs to show off third climax. Jeanne, who we have unlocked for beating the game on second climax. I don't think it showed up as unlocking at the end of the final part, if only because I have already unlocked Jeanne because of beating the game before. And then, hopefully planning to show off Infinite Climax with the other unlockable character in the game. We will see how that one goes as well. And then I would like to show off the super secret optional hard boss, and we will also see how that goes. And then we need to look at all of the handbooks which have got like all the information about the angels, the demons, the bosses, all that jazz, as well as showing off the World of the Eyes of Bayonetta 2, I can't quite remember what the damn thing's called, which has got like models and concept art and all that jazz. Now, what we bought in the Gates of Hell is the Super Mirror, which basically gives Bayonetta optional costumes, and you can buy extra couture bullets to unlock further costumes for Bayonetta to wear. You're going to be spending quite a lot of halos on them if you want to get them all, because there are, I believe, 4 Super Mirrors in total. Super Mirror 2, Super Mirror 64-2, Super Mirror, and Super Mirror 64. And I believe Super Mirror 64 unlocks after beating the game on third climax. And you have to get costumes for both Bayonetta and Jeanne separately, so that's a bit frustrating. Now, the witch trials are basically Lost Chapter Angel Slayer from the first game, except a lot nicer, because the Angel Slayer was one massive marathon of angel slaughter, and it was just, oh, it was horrifying, because you just got bombarded with a ridiculous number of enemies, and because there were no checkpoints, you could get kind of 20 minutes in and lose and then have to do it all over again. So this is a much nicer way of doing it. And I'm very grateful for it, because it's meant that I've actually been able to show this off, and actually show off a pretty successful kind of string of it. Now, the way that the whole thing works is that it's just like the Muspelheims in the sort of location. This is visually the Alfheim thing from the first game, but we will be going into sort of Muspelheim variant and the Hell variant at various points. And what's quite cool is that, well, the way that the whole different trials work is that they all play on different difficulties. So Witch Trial 1 is on second climax, and there are a grand total of 6 verses. It's very easy. Then you have Witch Trial 2, which is on third climax, and there are 8 verses. Witch Trial 3 is also on third climax, and there are 10 verses. Witch Trial 4 is also on third climax, and there are 12 verses, and Witch Trial 5 is on infinite climax difficulty, and there are 9 verses. And so you kind of have a build-up of difficulty, and trust me when I say that Witch Trials 4 and 5 are insanely difficult. I think people probably would agree with me when I say that Witch Trial 5 is arguably the most challenging thing to complete in the game. It's possible to cheese through it, but it's still very, very difficult. especially in comparison to Witch Trials 1 through 3, which I have to say are piss easy. They may be slightly more difficult for people who aren't good at Bayonetta, which makes me sound like I've got a massive head. I really don't. I'm not one of the better players of Bayonetta, but if you kind of know what you're doing, Witch Trials 1 to 3 should be absolutely no problem whatsoever. But yes, now, as you've probably been seeing for the past couple of fights, I haven't really spoken about it. I spoke about the super mirror, but not the particular costume that I decided to put Bayonetta in for this. But this is the Star Fox costume, because what's really, really, really wonderful about kind of Bayonetta 2 is, and the partnership that Platinum had with Nintendo, is that they had these wonderful Nintendo costumes. And because obviously there was the massive running joke that appeared after Hideki Kamiya was just like, I'd really like to make a Star Fox game. And then they put a Star Fox costume in Bayonetta 2, and it's wonderful. Now, I think, I'm not 100% sure on this one, but I think that Nintendo actually sent that costume idea to Platinum, and were just like, we want you to do this. Which is a particularly awesome thing. Because, I mean, Nintendo, from the sounds of what like Platinum have said in like their blogs and all of that, were kind of really, really all for kind of everything to do with Bayonetta 2. Like, all the sexual stuff, they were there. It's like, I'm pretty sure that with the Princess Peach and Princess Daisy costume that you can unlock, they were just like, yeah, just with the dress go shorter. And so you end up with what is, well, what can only be described as an incredibly slutty Princess Peach and Daisy costume. And it's absolutely shocking that Nintendo allowed it, but they were all for it. Which I think shows that they are kind of a much more mature company, or at least a sort of much more willing company than they maybe used to be in relation to stuff. But what's really cool about the Star Fox costume is that whenever you wear Love is Blue, the guns are changed into little R-wing guns, which all have as kind of chains, little kind of plush versions of Fox, Falco, Peppy, and Slippy. And also you have kind of the targeting reticule and the sound effect, and the colours changed from blue to green. It's wonderful. And what's even better is that wearing this particular costume in 2 particular verses creates a really nice change to a certain little something, and I will be showing that off when I cover my 3rd climax run with Bayonetta. And it's just great. It's just like a really wonderfully geeky little reference. It's brilliant. Also, Platinum on Witch Trial 1, yeah, that was very well done. Obviously there are people who can get pure Platinum, but what the hey, I'll be proud of my Platinum. Now, for pretty much all of the Witch Trials, the only thing that you're going to unlock from them is verse cards. The slightly frustrating thing, however, is that these verse cards can only be unlocked by completing the Witch Trials. apart from Witch Trial 5, in which you can unlock the verses that it allows you to unlock in just playing Type Climax normally. So basically these, like the first 4, give you access to the 4 Cardinal Virtue verses in Type Climax. Something that I didn't quite realise. So, this entire kind of, all the extras is recorded slightly out of sync. So, I recorded Witch Trial 1 through 3, tried to do Witch Trial 4, failed miserably, and was just like, right, stop this, I'm gonna go record Tag Climax. Then recorded all of Tag Climax, and didn't quite realise that to get to one of the verse cards I had to play and complete Witch Trial 4. And so I was trying to unlock it a different way, and it just wasn't happening. And then I did Witch Trial 4, and then went back and recorded more Type Climax, as well as kind of having beaten the game on 3rd Climax and all that jazz, so everything's going to be a little bit all over the place in terms of what costumes I've unlocked, how many halos I have, all that sort of stuff, but it's just the way you kind of play the after game. You just kind of roll with the flow, which is fine by me. My only kind of frustration is that well, you'll see in the next part of the Witch Trials that Witch Trial 5 isn't going to go very well. I may give it another attempt after having completed the optional boss, as that gives you a weapon which is apparently incredibly useful. But we shall see. It'll be just sort of extras that I'm not even planning to add on. But now I can't just believe that I've spoken for pretty much nearly 13 minutes straight about all that. There really is so much to talk about with Bayonetta. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's mostly because, as I believe I said in the main body of the walkthrough, that Bayonetta is always throwing new things at you. So there's always new stuff to talk about. But even when that's not quite the case, and it's just battling, there's still all these new kind of modes and themes and all that going through, and it's just like, keep talking and talking and talking, it's wonderful. It's like having done a game like Prince of Persia, where you kind of run out of things to talk about. It's very, very, very wonderful to be playing something where there is stuff to discuss. I may rescind that statement when we are going through all the Tag Climax, because let's just say there's quite a lot of parts of that, as I think I've already said. It's mostly because I wanted to show off every single verse in Tag Climax, of which there are 53, which means quite a lot of runs and of stuff, and then I also wanted to show off all the optional characters. So it kind of, it builds up over the course of doing stuff. Now, I have to say, I don't quite know why I got incredibly ballsy and just thought, yeah, I'll take these guys on whilst enraged. That's going to go brilliantly. But managed okay. Which I'm quite happy with, to be honest. Probably only slight frustration is that you hear a lot of Tomorrow Is Mine during the witch trials. It is cool, however, because right at the end of Witch Trial 5, you get to hear Moon River in a fighting context again, and it's beautiful. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm quite going to get to show that off. You'll see what I mean. Now, you may be wondering why I'm using Love Is Blue so much throughout this, but it's mainly because right now I don't need to be using my Undine Salamandra technique. Undine, as somebody in the comments in one of the videos very, very loudly proclaimed that I was pronouncing it wrong. So, I will continue to call it Undine now rather than Undini, even though I do prefer saying that, it's more fun. But yeah, up until maybe the next witch trial, Love Is Blue is perfectly fine as a technique. However, once you get to Witch Trial 4 and 5, your best bet is making use of accessories and Alruna. It's a very, very cheap way of getting through, but Bracelet of Time and Alruna, absolute godsend. If you can figure out how to work the Bracelet of Time effectively, because that is a challenge. I still don't quite think that I have figured it out, but oh well. Now I believe that we only have one more verse of Witch Trial 2. And it is going to be against a boss. That's pretty much how they kind of build up throughout them. So we had Valiance, and here we are going up against the Masked Lumen. Now this is, I believe, Masked Lumen 1? Although it might be Masked Lumen 2. I'm not 100% sure. Because they do have various versions of the boss. So it's difficult to tell which one it is. And there's the Undine Salamandra technique. It's mostly kind of facing bosses that it comes in handy. But I am still absolutely awful at dodging his moves. Absolutely, gosh darn, terrible. Now something that I should bring up, because it's a very, very, very important thing, is that in the Witch Trials, and also in Tag Climax, the amount of damage you do is increased quite dramatically, just as the amount of damage that you take is increased. So, enemies go down a lot quicker, especially bosses. Which is basically why the Alruna technique is very, very, very useful for the later Witch Trials. So that's why that Lumen Sage fight was so short. It's because sort of the damage modifiers are all different. And I believe we're going to be getting another super mirror right now because I wanted a slight change of clothes.
Being a demon lets me read minds. You're thinking, shut up and take my halos. Let's do it.
Pretty much, yeah. That would be nice. Because we want those clothes. Although I have to say, and this is something that I'll probably bring up again during my third climax kind of montage, I'm not a huge fan of all of the costumes in Bayonetta 2. Like, I think I may prefer this variety we had in Bayonetta 1 a little bit more. I mean, I love, like, the Umbran Gecko outfit. It's beautiful. It's probably my favourite of the three that you can get. Because it's got that mixture of kind of stuff flowing, and it also makes Bayonetta stand out quite a lot. Also, as you can probably tell, as we get to Witch Trial 3 here, everything gets a bit darker. So we've had the angelic, reasonably easy first two Witch Trials, and then it goes to hell, and begins to get challenging, and then it's going to just go absolutely off the crazy wall. Which is insane. Now, if you think that I'm going to completely run out of things to talk about during all of these extras, don't worry. I do actually have some plans. But I'm probably only going to begin to instigate them in Tag Climax, because that's going to be arguably the largest chunk that we have to cope with. But, like, I'm going to give you a wonderful talk about the anime that was created based on Bayonetta, Bayonetta Bloody Fate. Because I actually got the DVD, well, Blu-ray, because Blu-ray is actually beautiful and far better than DVD. I say sounding like a complete snob, but oh well. So, there was a wonderful anime based on the first game, and I will have some wonderful discussions about that. And then there's also some wonderful things to talk about with, like, the blogs that Platinum Games put out. I mean, it's great because what Platinum Games do is that they like to give you a kind of inside look at everything they're doing, and it's outside of anything else that a lot of developers do, because a lot of developers are just really secretive. And I mean, Nintendo is, in general, quite secretive, and they only kind of show stuff off at, like, Nintendo Directs, and so on. So apart from, like, the Iwata Asks, you never really get an inside look at the game development. But what Platinum have done for pretty much all of their games to date, apart from a few, like, right at the start with Mad World and Infinite Space and all that, they didn't really use the blogs that much, but then come Bayonetta, they really went all out, and they've been doing that ever since, because there were a lot of blog posts about Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, there were quite a lot about The Wonderful 101, there are quite a lot about Bayonetta 2, and hopefully, when Scalebound is in a position to be shown off again, we will get a bunch about Scalebound. Because it's always really interesting to see where the developers are coming from, and what inspired them, and I mean, it's part of the reason why I absolutely adore art books. Because they provide you with all that concept art and renders and little comments about things, so you hear all these kind of wonderful little anecdotes about kind of how development went, and it's just wonderful because it just makes it feel like you're involved. I mean, a nice kind of parallel, I suppose, would be kind of the documentary that Double Fine have done about Broken Age. Obviously, there is massive difference in the fact that that was all funded by fans, so there is that kind of added complexity to the situation of them kind of technically needing to show off stuff to please the people who have funded their entire game. But it's that sort of nice inside look that it just kind of, I think it improves the experience of the game because you can see all of its kind of intricate parts, and it really does make it feel like a team effort for kind of the creation of it all, because you're working alongside the developers to create something beautiful. So they've done kind of the majority of the hard work in creating the game, but then you're kind of adding your own experiences into the game, if that makes any sense at all. It's like you're playing kind of creates something new, and then you kind of can share that with people, and so it's sort of, it's just building up. Also, this move from resentment is evil because you can't kind of get out of it. Like, if you get caught, you are going to take damage no matter what. You have absolutely no choice in the matter. Which I just think is just evil. Resentment really is one of the worst enemies I have ever come across in my entire life. It's despicable. I mean, the name Resentment is incredibly apt, and I do resent it. I wish it had never existed. I mean, the design's great and creepy and but as an enemy to fight, no. Just no. It's not cool. But now we have to face off against Phantasmarine, and he's not that bad. I mean, he's incredibly violent, and as you can see, I've taken quite a lot of damage already, and I think I was rather incredibly nervous about how this was all going to play out. Because although you do get kind of small bits of health at the end of every fight, it's not enough to kind of bring you back to full health, which means that you are put into a very, very dangerous position should things not go well. Just as is happening right now. What's really cool is that as you kind of progress through the difficulties, it's more so when you get to Witch Trial 4 and then Witch Trial 5, you get more healing items at the end of each verse. So I believe at the end of each verse in Witch Trial 4 you get 3 healing items, and at the end of Witch verses in Witch Trial 5 you get like 5 or something. It's very helpful, but it's a lot nicer than they ever were in Angel Slayer, because if I recall correctly, they didn't give you anything. They just expected you to kind of beat the entirety of the thing on your kind of own. Because you're not allowed to use lollipops at all, because that would make things way too easy. Yeah, you definitely need more challenge. But yeah, so you're not allowed to use lollipops. So any health you lose, it's pretty much gone forever unless you utilise the healing items at the end of each verse, which you will need. Or you use, I think it's Celine's Light. I might be wrong on that. But I think Celine's Light is the accessory that heals you a little bit if you taunt. As I said, I'm not 100% sure on that one. I know there is an item that does that. I just can't quite remember which one it is. But somehow miraculously, I'm surviving, and we are nearly at the end of Witch Trial 3, and I have continued talking for half an hour straight. Oh my god. As you can tell, I think I'm going a slight little wee bit delusional. I don't think I've spoken this much, this quickly, about pretty much nothing in a very long time. But we've just got this rather chaotic verse with bloody sloth. And then my hell fight. Because while, like, Boulder in his kind of masculine forms is a pain, and same with, like, Lopter in all of his forms, the one boss that I always struggle to read, and have always struggled to read, is Alraune. Like, I really struggle. It's because she's incredibly quick and incredibly aggressive that I struggle. Although, having said that, this version of Alraune's okay, because it's slower. But we will be facing off against small, irritating Alraune eventually. About midway through Witch Trial 4, I believe, as well as in Witch Trial 5, because they were just that mean. But, oof. As I said, it does get progressively more challenging, and I'm so grateful that they split them all up into kind of smaller chunks, because it makes it a lot more manageable. And also makes me feel more competent about my abilities at playing this game. Because at least I know that it's only kind of the final challenge that I fail at miserably. But there we go. Witch Trial 3 is complete. 2 more to go. Although knowing my luck, and knowing my skill, and knowing how everything went, it's more like it's going to be 1.5 Witch Trials, but you will see in the next part. See you then.